What time is it, Mr. Wolf? Time to get your butt outside and play in the yard. You're now in the Gen Experience. I'm Victor, and I was playing outside on our corner lot during a time when bikes would pile at the front porch and a couple of kids became a dozen. From around the neighborhood they came, without shoes, bike helmets, or adult supervision.
Oh my!
Soon we were playing games in the side yard, shooting hoops in the driveway basketball court, or even tossing a ball in the street out front. If this sounds familiar, or just like a lot of fun, help me with this stupid algorithm and click the like, and come along in our YouTube time machine and remember the games we played. Whether next door or a couple of streets over, they came to join the camaraderie with other neighborhood kids and release the energy playing outside produced during the 70s and 80s. Throngs of kids playing together at the same time. And that's the way it was. Who remembers playing freeze tag? Sure, there was tag, but let's take it to the next level, having you stop dead in your tracks when the one who was it caught up and tagged you before moving on to their next target. Those not tagged would race around to touch the frozen and break the spell, all while eluding the tagger themselves, effectively elongating the game by keeping the number of players on the field changing. He or she who was it had their work cut out as they constantly tried to freeze everyone. A nearly impossible task, as more often than not, he who was it ran out of steam. We all played outside back then, raking leaf houses after jumping into a pile of the dry, crackling autumn debris, or opting for kickball with makeshift bases like a backpack or a milk crate. Kickball was a great yard game as it could be played with minimal teammates and minimal space. Since chances of fly balls were rare, drivers just had to look out for balls rolling into the street and the inevitable kid chasing after it. There was no denying we got our vitamin D back then, not because we had to, but because we wanted to. Was red light, green light more your style? Everyone wants to cross the finish line first, but if you were caught continuing forward motion after red light had been called, you were SOL. Okay, no, nothing like Squid Game's SOL. Back to the starting line you go, while everyone else kept their place. Now you had to run further and faster when the next green light was called. Of course, like most of these games, being the winner meant you were now it. And that is exactly what we hoped for.
It's all coming back to you.
I grew up thinking every house came with a basketball hoop in their driveway, didn't you? Depending on how many siblings you had, a variety of age groups might appear at the neighborhood epicenter of excitement, which was our house. Spreading out over the grounds, there was no doubt 2 or 3 of them who were getting in a good round of pig, while others were playing something elsewhere. Perhaps pig wasn't challenging enough, so you upped your game to horse. You might even be more competitive than that, or be playing with some high-caliber ballers, and around the world was the b-ball game of your choice. Just watch out, Dad's gonna kill you if you dent the garage door. Playing outside was just a given. It was not a shocker to friends or neighbors. It was expected. It would be stranger not to see a group of kids of various ages running amok in someone's yard on a weekday afternoon or any time during the weekend. It wasn't just part of play, but of life lessons. Now, Red Rover may have seemed like it was for the younger set. No, that's Clifford, not Red Rover. But if you ever played with kids who not only had a competitive streak, but were growing into adolescence, then you knew this game could get dangerous. Trying to break that barrier on the other side, you couldn't wait to hear your name called for your turn to bust through the human chain barricade across from you. Kids learned to transition from simply hand-holding to a G.I. Joe Kung Fu style grip. This way, as you tried to bust through their defenses, you'd find the wind knocked out of you as you were lifted up and over in an ungraceful somersault, or the very least, feeling you had just been socked in the gut. It may have been a child's game, but it could get vicious, just the way we liked it. Now, hide and seek was always a pinch hitter. I never met a kid who wasn't in for a good game. It was better with a group, and more often than not, all different ages were willing to play. Once the base was selected and the it turned to count, the race was on. Find the best hiding place, one they will never think of, but one that you can escape easily and make it back to base before being tagged where you were out. Outside or inside, hide and seek was a favorite any day of the week. There were even some variations like kick the can, an older version that I'm surprised we didn't play with all the old Colombian and U-Band coffee cans around the house. And then there was sardines. I don't remember this one as much, do you? I did read about it coming from the UK. Here, only one person hides and the rest look. Fun, huh? The big change comes from as each player finds you, they simply hide with you. Each player tries to quietly find your secret spot and then squish themselves in with you like a sardine. I guess the last one to find you is out, loser. These close quarters may have been great for fledgling hormones beginning to go wild and copping a feel. These kids across the pond, they were pretty cheeky. It was a mere inconvenience for neighbors arriving home from work when tossing the football in the street in the front of the house. I remember older kids making passes to one another, slowly widening their throwing distance. Playing football was constant, perhaps a group of kids at the park or just two of you out front. Others wanted to join in the fun, but this seemed like the big guys' game. It wasn't uncommon to hit the old wiffle ball with a wiffle bat out in the street too. If you played it safe when it came to the neighbors' cars, then there were few with issues of this usual rite of passage. Kids would always make room for a car passing and even give a wave hello, often returned by a short beep of the horn from someone we knew going to and from. This was second nature. Playing out front, on the side yard, the street, or in the driveway was the norm, and it was enjoyed by kids and parents alike. What parent didn't want some peace in the house to get things done? Moms and dads were delighted to have the kids out of the house, but also relieved to see everyone coming together, playing together. They weren't responsible for entertaining us all the time. We had to use our imagination and figure out how to cure boredom. Our parents knew this hands-off approach was important and a healthy growth mechanism. And while we were out there, how could you forget What Time Is It, Mr. Wolf? Wait, did you forget this one? I had to go back far in the memory banks for this, but I could not deny it was one of my favorites. What time is it, Mr. Wolf? And with that question, the wolf, positioned with his back towards you, told us how many steps we could move forward to the finish line and closer to the wolf himself. Cautiously moving towards said wolf, you hope to get past him while certain anxiety built in your stomach at the ever-present threat of the wolf responding to our time query with monstrous howl, "Time for my midnight snack," as he turns to run wildly after his prey. He just needed to catch one of us. Again, being tagged meant you took his place and became the wolf yourself. A simpler variation of this game was known as Mother May I, but I guess we lived on the edge as the wolf listened carefully to how close our voices were at each question to help determine when he would strategically spring into action with feeding time. You can still hear the squealing, can't you? The adrenaline rush hit us as we scrambled to avoid capture in this slow burn turned intense hunt kind of yard game. If it wasn't your house we were in front of, it was another kid's. Certainly not chaperoning. Some parent, omnipresent somewhere out of sight, made casual checks through a window, or just listened for anything the kids couldn't handle, only reacting if something truly got out of hand. These were our opportunities to develop conflict resolution and teamwork, and mom and dad weren't about to step in and muddle things up. There wasn't any troublemaking, well, not real trouble at least. The combination of kids and ages was ever changing, but it didn't matter as long as we were keeping busy, playing, and outside. We would all self-manage and be home when a mother's voice was heard floating in the breeze. "Time for dinner!" If you were lucky, maybe on a weekend or a summer evening, the gang, or most of it, would soon materialize once again to start over after the dinner hour. Our tastes and preferences in games changed over the years. Cops and robbers, building forts, and don't forget running through sprinklers on a hot Saturday afternoon were some of our outside play before moving up to more team games and even one-on-one competitive, although abbreviated, sports-related play. Which of these games do you remember most? What brings you back? And was it your house that every kid came to congregate? Or was it you that ventured to another central gathering point? I always thought this is why Gen X could handle anything thrown at it. We honed necessary social skills. These organic playtimes allowed us the opportunity to work out difficult situations, build confidence, teamwork, and work through minor conflicts. This was the result of positive play. When outside, we were inventive and even bold as we asked kids we didn't know if they wanted to play. This certainly developed an independence we would need for the future. Suddenly more kids were there and we looked forward to these impromptu game dates. But don't let anyone fool you by saying this was a blissfully ignorant parenting style. Parents kept their distance, but with an ever-present ear open, listening unseen for when they truly needed to intervene, like a broken bone or internal bleeding. They were letting us be kids. Nothing was more important. Knowing they would not always be there, the games we played were just part of the facts of life. This was the accepted style of play. What was important is that it happened, and it resulted in a natural positive development. These weren't planned and scheduled play dates. We went outside, met new kids, and played ball. Because you know what Mom always said?
Oh no! She always says don't play ball in the house.
These yard games drew the best out of us. Sadly, it looks a whole hell of a lot different today. There's no doubt these games are played, but the dynamics have changed. Gone are the days of a dozen kids playing in one neighbor's yard, and the ages are not quite as diverse, with other kids being too involved in tech today. And of course, none of this would occur without close supervision in this day and age. There is always fear of letting your kids fly free, but the independence it fosters is priceless. And with that, we return to the present. As depressing as that sounds, I do hope you enjoyed remembering, reminiscing, and reliving what once was. If you did, please click that like and leave a comment. I appreciate those of you coming back. And to everyone, please consider helping out my channel by pressing subscribe. That would be awesome. Now look around the channel for other great content like this. And I do hope you come back again soon. Thanks for watching, and until next time.